With its long beaches and splendid weather, Cyprus seems only destined for good times. But for decades, tension has never been far from its shores. Turkish and Greek Cypriots could never make peace. And now the Cyprus question has moved to a new era, with Turkey backing a two-state solution. But how did we come to this point? There are no short answers. In this six-part documentary, we will try to explain the how and the why. On the night of December 21st, 1963, Cyprus suffered one of its darkest hours. Neighbors turned enemies, villages were set ablaze, and people were slaughtered. This massacre changed the course of the island's history.
...1941 Lefkoşa doğumluyum. O zaman da Lefkoşa daha fazla surlar içi ve biraz da varoşları olan bir yerdi. Daha küçüktü şimdikine nazaran. Lefkoşa'nın surlar içindeki kuzey kısmı Türk semtiydi. Tam ortasından sanki bölünmüş gibi doğu batı hattında. Güneyinde de Rumlar yaşardı. Tabii çarşıda, belediye pazarında falan böyle karışık dükkanlar vardı yani yan yana ama sosyal olarak böyle pek karışık bir hayat yoktu. Herkes kendi hayatını yaşardı. Kendi arkadaşı bile olsa bir Rum veya Türk bir merhabayla kalırdı.
Cyprus was a peaceful island for years where different ethnic groups lived together. Orthodox Christian Greeks and Muslim Turks.
Well, it seems historical documents suggest that the two communities somehow managed to live together, as I said, in a coexistence, a good example of coexistence, up until the Second World War. They kept their religious affairs for themselves and somehow also managed successfully keeping external factors and external politics not to affect their lives.
There were other things which made the island special. It lies on the intersection of Europe, Asia, and Africa, controlling the transportation routes and commanding the eastern Mediterranean region. This has always been a source of contention among great powers. Ottomans ruled the island more than 300 years. In 1878, Britain took over Cyprus and annexed it at the beginning of World War I. By 1925, the island officially became a British colony. Cyprus was a strategic asset near the Suez Canal. But for the inhabitants of the island, it meant a lot more. The Greek Cypriots wanted the island for themselves and had plans to unite it with Greece. And for this goal, which they called enosis, they were ready to use violence.
Broadly speaking, we can say that enosis began even in 1821, when the Greek Revolution began. The Cypriots, mainly obviously the Greek Cypriots, who were about 80%, rose up as well. And there were some unfortunate killings of priests and everything, which was unfortunate. So one could argue that the enosis began as early as then, although there's even a story that in 1878, when Wolsey, the British governor, arrived in Cyprus, that the top priest actually spoke about unifying with Greece even then. But of course it picked up speed later on, enosis.
That was, in my view, fueled by the mainland Greek interference with the island. Let's remember that this interference was religiously motivated.
The Greek Orthodox Church in Cyprus was the leading force behind enosis. In 1950, an unofficial referendum was held among Greek Cypriots. 95% of them supported the idea of unity with Greece. Turkish Cypriots were ignored. Not only for Turks, but also for the international community, enosis was off the table.
The British have been suppressing the enosis movement since the 1930s. In 1931, there was a big uprising. And ever since, the British had to engage in more heavy-handed tactics to suppress the enosis movement. In the 1940s, the Turkish Cypriots were also encouraged and engaged in their own institution buildings in order to counter enosis. So the Turkish Cypriots established their own institutions. This then led to an international confrontation in 1954 when the Greek government sponsored a self-determination proposal in the United Nations General Assembly. At that time, the Turkish government in Ankara, Prime Minister Menderes' government, wasn't too keen to get involved in the Cyprus affair. But the Turkish Cypriots were keen to get Turkey involved. In fact, it's really ironic. My own grandfather, Faiz Kaymak, led a delegation and met with Menderes and the Turkish officials, later went to London, and ultimately went to New York, all with the goal of preventing the 1954 self-determination motion by Greece. And in fact, this succeeded. In 1954, the United Nations agreed that the issue had to be put off indefinitely.
İngiliz yönetiminde yaşıyoruz. Türk bayrağı yasak. Yani asmak değil, evinizde bulundurmanız bile suç. Ben de bir gün arkadaşlara bir şey buldum. Bir Türk bayrağı buldum. Bir bildiğimiz bir değneğin üzerine astık. Tabii olaylar oldu, haberler geldi falan. Yani enosis olacak gibisinden böyle haberler çıkmaya başladı. Ben de topladım, bilmiyorum, emin değilim. 8-10 kişi, 10-15 kişi arkamda. Bizim ilkokulun futbol sahasında bir yürüyüş yaptık. Türk bayrağı. Kıbrıs Türktür, Türk kalacak. Kıbrıs Türktür, Türk kalacak. Bir saat sonra İngiliz polisi geldi. Aldılar bizi elden ayaktan. Götürdüler karakola. Bir soru sordular. Nereden çıktı bu Türk bayrağı? Niye yaptınız falan filan. Dedim ya biz Türk'üz. Yapmamız lazım falan. İnanmayacaksınız. Yani şimdi nar değneği nedir bilir misiniz? Nar ağacı. Dikenli bir çubuk. Onunla beni dövdüler.
Yine Caddesi'nde durmadan böyle gösteri yaparak geçerlerdi ellerinde. Yaftalar, enosis, Yunanistan'a bağlanma Yunan bayrağıyla. Türkler huzursuz olurdu. Yavaş yavaş kızışmaya başladı hava. Tek tük Rum dükkanları vardı Girne Caddesi'nde. Onlar terk etmeye başladı. Çünkü zaten hiç müşterileri ilgi yoktu. Rum tarafında olanlar yavaş yavaş Türk tarafına taşınmaya başladı. Yani bir ayrışım o zamandan başlamıştı.
During those days, another name started to circulate on the island, IOKA. It was the name of the secret armed Greek Cypriot organization aiming to realize their dream of enosis. Greek Archbishop Makarios and former Greek Colonel Georgo Grivas were leading the movement. Grivas was a Greek soldier born in Cyprus. He experienced defeat against Turks during the Turkish War of Independence. Makarios was not just a religious leader. After he was elected the head of the church, he also assumed the role of political leader of Greek Cypriots.
But the enosis thing had really picked up to an extreme level with Archbishop Makarios. Now, Makarios did not have a very good relationship with Grivas. Grivas was very anti-communist, was in a nasty organization called HI in Athens, killing communists, anyone who was even slightly left-wing. And later on, Makarios and Grivas didn't get on very well together because Grivas was too extreme for Makarios.
On April the 1st, 1955, a series of bombs struck British government offices in Nicosia. IOKA also began to attack those who opposed the idea of enosis with assassinations. The British administration in the island began a surge against IOKA. In October, it appointed a new governor, Field Marshal John Harding, to deal with the Greek insurgency.
They're not terrorizing me, nor my troops. They're really terrorizing their own people. They're trying to impose their will by force on the whole of the people of Cyprus.
Curfews were imposed, a state of emergency was declared. Britain's tough response alienated Greek Cypriots further. In March 1956, Makarios was exiled, but the tension remained high. Britain sent troops to the island to crack down on the IOKA terror group. In the beginning, IOKA didn't target the Turkish community, but this would soon change.
Rumlar silah getirmeye, adaya kaçak silah getirmeye başladılar. Baf açıklarına bir silah yüklü bir gemi yanaştı ve silah boşaltılırken bir Abdullah Çavuş diye bir polis çavuşu vardı. O zaman da İngiliz yönetimi tabii. Ve Abdullah Çavuş ihbar ettiği için birkaç gün sonra şehit edildi. İngiliz hükümeti çok biliyorsunuz parçala idare et yönetimini çok güzel yapıyorlar. İngiliz kalktı şey gibi, Türkiye'deki köy korucuları gibi Türk komandolarını göreve aldı. Mesela bir öğretmen 15 lira ayda alırdı, bir komando 50.000 lira para veriyordu. Bizde de işsizlik, parasızlık, gençlik, heyecan, silah sevgisi falan. Yani katılanlar çok oldu İngiliz üniformasıyla. Bu sefer tabii ki İngiliz askeriyle şey göstermiyordu Rumlara. Yani baskı yapmıyordu. Bizim komandoları öne sürüyordu. Vay efendim Türkler bize saldırdı. Halbuki onlara İngiliz üniformasıdır saldıran. Böyle zaten artık haftada bir ayda bir tane iki tane bizim komandolardan vurmaya başladı Rumlar. Bu sefer biz protesto etmeye başladık.
Türk polisleri onlar düşman gibi görmeye başladılar. 3-5 tane Türk polisi de öldürünce artık bizim de bir tabancası olan bir Rum'u vurdu. Bir an derken böyle işler kızıştı. Onlar hazırdı. Biz hazırlıksızdık, birkaç tabanca, av tüfek vardı. Olaylar tırmanınca İngiliz hükümeti av tüfeklerini topladı. 3-5 tabancayla öyle kaldık.
Turkish Cypriots and their villages had now become the main target of IOKA attacks. It prompted the Turks to form their own response. On November 23, 1957, they established the Turkish Resistance Organization, also known as TMT. The Turkish Cypriot resistance was led by two men, Dr. Fazıl Küçük and Rauf Denktaş. Fazıl Küçük was a medical doctor and the leader of the Turkish community on the island. His deputy, Rauf Denktaş, was a crown prosecutor. His expertise in law and talent in politics were soon to shape the future of Turkish Cypriots.
Doktor Fazıl Küçük liderimiz, o zaman da onun böyle yeni lider olarak kabul olunduğu zaman işte gündüz kliniğinde, akşamüstü oldu mu kapısının önüne otururdu. Gelen giden halk böyle dertleşirlerdi. Bundan ne olacak bu Rumların meselesi, iş nereye gidiyor, Türkler ne yapabilir diye filan.
Rauf Denktaş is the founder of the vision of the legal basis and the political basis of the Turkish Cypriot people, the struggle of the Turkish Cypriot people. In the 1950s, he had started the struggle as a political objective to make sure that the Turkish Cypriots had the equal stature as the Greek Cypriots on the island, and started the struggle for, if the Greek Cypriots want union with Greece, then we will want a union with Turkey. His struggle for Taksim at that time. He was the founder of the Turkish Cypriot defense struggle, the Mujahid struggle against the Greek Cypriots. So together with, of course, Dr. Fazıl Küçük, who was his mentor earlier on. Both the political struggle initiated by Turkish Cypriots as well as the resistance struggle that the Turkish Cypriots formed, Rauf Denktaş played a significant role.
Can you explain to people in England why it is impossible for Greeks and Turks to live peacefully together in Cyprus?
Well, the explanation will take me very long. Come and look at Cyprus and you will see the explanation. Barbed wire separates us. We don't go to each other's coffee shops. We don't go to the entertainment places that others go. The trouble started in 1953-54, went on in 55, and the terrorism, Makarios, and the Greek leaders, their insults against the Turks, their determination not to recognize any right to the Turks has led to this present position. And to believe that we can go back on it is to be unrealistic in Cyprus.
As clashes continued, Britain was looking for a diplomatic solution. In 1955, a conference was convened in London among British, Turkish and Greek governments. Prime Minister Winston Churchill and his successor Anthony Eden wanted to keep Cyprus as a strategic stepping stone towards the Middle East. Handing over Cyprus to Greece was not an option, and Turkey sternly opposed it. So they proposed an autonomy that would allow Britain to retain 2 military bases. But the Greek side insisted that the future of Cyprus had to include enosis. As for Turkey and the Turkish Cypriots, if independence was inevitable, the island needed to be divided between the two communities. The London Conference ended without any agreement. And in 1957 and 58, the violence spiraled as İOKA began targeting more and more Turkish Cypriots.
Bir haber gelirdi mesela, diyelim ki atıyorum işte 1 kilometre o taraftaki Türk mahallesine Rumlar bu akşam saldıracak, baskın yapacak. Biz de tedbir olarak evde şeyimiz vardı. Hem böyle seferi bir çantamız vardı. Hem ihtiyaç malzemesi, hem biraz yemek, ekmek, biraz ve polis düdüğü. Yani kulaklarınız böyle sağır olurdu o polis düdüklerinden. İnsanlar korkuyla çalıyordu, yani polis düdüğünü çalınca İngiliz polisi müdahale ederdi.
1958'in Haziran, Temmuz aylarında iki taraftan bir 200 kişiye kadar karşılıklı bir öldürme oldu. Bu arada Yunanistan, Türkiye ve İngiltere dediler artık bu işin sonu gelmeyecek. Oturalım, biz bunları barıştıralım ya bir şekilde bu işi halledelim. Rumlar da artık gözleri korktu. Herhalde onlar da başka bir yol çizdiler. Bu Türklerle biz baş edemeyeceğiz. Anlaşır görünelim ve bu işi başka türlü hallederiz diye.
In 1958, Britain put forth a new plan, initiated by then British Prime Minister Harold Macmillan. He visited Athens and Ankara to meet with Greek Prime Minister Konstantin Karamanlis and Turkish Prime Minister Adnan Menderes. After a series of talks, the parties paved the way for the foundation of a new republic with the 1959 Zurich and London agreements. The breakthrough led to the creation of the Republic of Cyprus in 1960.
The past belongs to the past. Everything is forgotten. A new era now started.
Turkey, United Kingdom and Greece were the guarantors of this new state. The 1960 constitution was based on power-sharing agreement between Turkish and Greek Cypriots. The guarantors were given the right to intervene in case of threats or disturbances against the constitutional state of affairs. Archbishop Makarios became the president of the new Republic of Cyprus, and Turkish Cypriot leader Dr. Fazıl Küçük its vice president. But the British forces were to remain. The treaty allowed them to maintain control over two military zones in the east and south.
It was not real independence, it was qualified independence, because the whole 1960 arrangement was predicated on the British military bases, which the Americans wanted them to have, which were de facto NATO bases, de facto, and the whole arrangement didn't work. And in fact, quite soon afterwards, the British Foreign Office admitted that it was an unworkable constitution themselves. More than half the Treaty of Establishment was devoted to the bases and all the rights of the British over flights in Cyprus. So Cyprus, in fact, began with its hands tied with an unworkable constitution. And it never got better. It just became worse after that.
It took only 3 years for the Republic of Cyprus to end up in a deadlock. The Greek Cypriot leadership believed that the rights given to Turkish Cypriots under the 1960 Constitution were too extensive.
Cumhuriyette çok geçmeden bu da Makarios dedi ki Cumhurbaşkanımız Türklere verilen haklar çoktur dedi. Bazılarını değiştirmek lazım dedi. Anayasanın dedi 13 maddesini değiştireceğiz. Bir gerginlik başladı. Doktor Fazıl Küçük tabii o zaman liderimiz, Davut Denktaş yardımcısı. Karşı çıkmalar, zaten Halkın Sesi gazetesi var Doktor Küçük'ün, müthiş bir şey başlatıldı. Böyle bir gerginlik başladı. Anayasa Mahkemesi vardı, anayasaya göre kurulmuş. Başında 2 tane Alman hakim. 2'de 1 şikayetler gider, o işte Anayasa Mahkemesi Türkleri haklı bulur. Bu da Anayasa Mahkemesi'nin kararlarını kabul etmez Makarios. Durum gerginleşti.
For the new republic to work, the Greek leadership had to abandon its enosis ambition. In appearance it did, but in reality there was a conspiracy at play. Makarios then founded a secret organization called Akritas. Akritas had one agenda: to knock Turkish Cypriots out of government and unite Cyprus with Greece.
The agreements, the London-Zurich agreements, were solutions that were imposed upon Greece and Turkey. It could work theoretically. It was a viable solution, but because we still wanted enosis, we saw that as a step that would first of all create an independent Cyprus. And the next step of the independent Cyprus would have this independent Cyprus would join Greece. That's how we were viewing the situation at that time. Of course, Makarios made the mistake with the 13 points, which he wanted by that to change the constitution that had been agreed upon. And in this way, he violated, in a way, the agreements that had been signed at that time. And of course that created the big issues because, for example, the question of having separate municipalities was never implemented, and various problems, of course, were created at the time, and the situation became worse as both sides, both communities started arming themselves.
I think that the 60s was a very difficult time for Taksim, and indeed even for political equality. As soon as the Republic of Cyprus was established, the very first thing that Greek Cypriots did was challenge it and try to change it. And so Makarios, the president, actually had to come up with 13 points that he submitted to the Turkish Cypriot side for amendment to effectively make the power sharing regime one of unilateral dominance by the majority, transforming it into a Greek Cypriot state. And so the reason this happened is because the international community wasn't necessarily happy with the Republic of Cyprus. So if you look at the interventions by the United Nations Secretary Generals in the 1960s, you see that some of their dispositions were favorable to the Greek Cypriot one. Some of the Secretary Generals actually promoted the idea that enosis was the actual solution and that Turkish Cypriots should accept minority rights. As it turns out, Turkish Cypriots resisted and rejected this international idea.
The tension on the island peaked in late 1963. On the 21st of December, 2 Turkish Cypriots were killed in an incident involving Greek Cypriot police. The event triggered a killing spree infamously known as Bloody Christmas, targeting Turkish Cypriots.
Nöbet tutardık. Çıkıp arada bir devriye yapılırdı böyle. Bir arabayla ya bisikletlerle böyle. Kontrol altında tutardık. 21 Aralık'ta işte tam bu esnada Tahtakale olayı patladı. Bir Türk aileyi, daha doğrusu iki arkadaştı bunlar, bir bayanla bir erkek. Eğlenceden gelirken gece Rum polisleri durdurdu. Türk mahallesi, yani Tahtakale mahallesi, Rum bölgesinin içinde böyle bir de cami vardı orada. Onun etrafında bir Türk mahallesi. Ona girişte yoklamak istediler. Anayasaya göre Türkleri Türkler yoklardı, Türk polisler, Rumları Rum polisler. Siz bizi yoklarsınız, yoklamazsınız derken mahalleli çıktı. Biraz çıktı, polisler telsizden yardım istediler. Birkaç polis daha geldi. Bu da Yorgacısı'nın sivil adamları da geldi. Birkaç tanesi çekti bizim o 2 tane Türk'ü. Orada şehit etti.
On the evening of December 22nd, gunfire broke out in Nicosia and across the island. Communication lines to Turkish neighborhoods were cut off. The flashpoint of the violence was an area called Küçük Kaymaklı. Greek militants led by Nikos Samson entered the neighborhood with a Turkish flag as disguise. They opened fire on civilians approaching to welcome them, including women and children. Homes went up in flames, forcing many to escape. The events in Küçük Kaymaklı have been widely described as a massacre, and Nikos Samson is still remembered as the butcher of Turkish Cypriots.
Şimdi 21-25 Aralık arası korku, tedirginlik, en önemlisi korku, can korkusu. Çünkü nerede, ne zamandan gelip, hangi evden girip bu Rum sizi öldürecek bilemezsiniz. 25 Aralık sabahtan babam da dahil olmak üzere, bütün mücahitler de dahil olmak üzere herkes Hamitköy'e, Mandırez'e gitmek için koşarak kaçmaya başladı. Tabii bu arada silah sesleri devam ediyor. Hatta Küçük Kaymaklı'nın bu kaçış yerinin tam karşısında, yani şöyle açık bir arazide Rum mezarlığı vardı. Rum birlikleri onun içerisine makineli tüfek yerleştirdi ve bu açık araziyi devamlı ateş altında tutmaktaydı. Ben Hüseyin amcamı, 63 şehidi, orada yere çömelmiş vaziyette, hani hedef küçültme, çünkü karşıdan ateş geliyor. Orada elinde bir tabanca, sırtında bir süet mont kahverengi, çok iyi hatırlıyorum. Bizleri şimdi sen, evet şimdi koşun, durmayın. En son geçirdiklerinden birisi benim. Ertesi gün bir haber geldi ki Hüseyin Ruso Üsküdar Bar'ın önündeki arazide yatıyor. Şakağından vurulmuş, şehit olmuş, yatıyor.
EOKA members also stormed the Nicosia home of Turkish Major Nihat İlhan. A photograph of his wife and 3 sons lying dead in their bathtub has since become a symbol of the brutality inflicted by Greek Cypriot extremists. By Christmas Eve, the 24th, Britain, Greece and Turkey had joint talks, with all sides calling for a truce. But the toll was so heavy that Nicosia had to be divided permanently. In the next few days, a British officer would mark a line on a map with green ink to separate the two sides by a buffer zone.
That's when the Turks began to retreat. And I have to say, they were badly treated by the Greeks at the time. The Greek extremists went too far because they were in a majority. And it's a great shame that diplomacy didn't win the game. But I'm afraid by that time the Americans were very against Makarios. And so they papered over the cracks. And the United Nations came in, which angered Turkey. And ever since then, we've had this bizarre situation where every 6 months they renew the UN mandate, and it goes on and on and on.
The Green Line still splits Nicosia and is patrolled by UN peacekeepers to this day. The bloody Christmas planted the seeds of hatred. Violence and killings turned neighbors into enemies and friends into foes, and the future was uncertain.